Louisa May Alcott's Little Women is not a sweet, cozy bedtime story for kids, nor is it just a collection of nice family tales. If you look closely, it is actually a sharp, realistic breakdown of survival and money. It shows exactly what happens when four young women, who lost their family wealth to the American Civil War, are forced to face a society that treats a woman's marriage as her only real financial option, while treating her true talents as just unprofitable hobbies. Too many modern readers think of this masterpiece as a soft, sugar-coated coming-of-age drama. Today, we are stripping away that superficial gloss. We are going to look at this story through a realistic lens, to see how these ordinary sisters did a complete audit on their own lives, refusing to sell who they were to the highest bidder in the marriage market. The story starts not with a glamorous ball, but with the reality of being broke. The March sisters have zero cash. Their father is away at war, and their mother runs the house on pure emotional strength rather than money. The wealthy elite have already decided their net worth is zero. In the eyes of society, they are destined to become stressed-out governesses or dependent wives, trapped forever in the struggling lower middle class. But inside this home, the sisters are quietly building four completely different kinds of personal strength. Meg has the classic elegance that high society loves. Jo has a fierce, untamed creative mind. Beth has pure, unconditional empathy. And Amy has a sharp, clear-eyed ambition. They are using four different strategies to fight the same financial gravity. They start at the very bottom of the ledger, completely unaware that the world outside is waiting to tempt, test, and corrupt every single asset they have. The real test for the March sisters comes when the pressure of upper-class lifestyle and traditional romance crashes into their ordinary lives. Let's look honestly at the traps they faced. Meg, the oldest, is the first to deal with the reality of money. When she goes to the glamorous parties of her wealthy friends, her poverty is treated like an insult. She lets them dress her up like a doll, drinks champagne she can't afford, and eventually blows her family's tiny budget on a single piece of expensive silk. This was the unwritten rule of the market. A poor girl's desire for luxury is a trap that easily forces her into a marriage where she has no power. Meg looks at the bill and gets an immediate reality check. She realizes that trying to buy fake luxury on credit will cost her her real dignity. She goes back home and chooses John Brooke, a poor tutor. She accepts a life of tight budgets, choosing the hard work of a small kitchen and faded dresses over a lifetime of pretending to be rich in a loveless mansion. Meanwhile, Jo faces an even more tempting offer. Laurie, the wealthy boy next door. Laurie offers her total financial security, a free pass into the elite world, and genuine love. But Jo does not think like everyone else. She doesn't see his proposal as a rescue plan. She sees it as a golden cage. She knows that marrying Laurie means becoming a decorative ornament in a wealthy estate. She refuses to change her independent mind into a submissive wifely persona. By rejecting the richest guy in her social circle, Jo completely rebels against what society expected of women. She walks away from a guaranteed fortune and steps into the unknown, unaware that the real world usually punishes independent dreamers with loneliness and cheap paychecks. To build their own futures, the two most ambitious sisters, Jo and Amy, must split up and test their talents in a tough commercial market. Look at their opposite strategies. Jo runs away to New York, living in a cheap room, trying to sell her writing to the publishing industry. But the market is cold and money-driven. To survive, Jo starts using her dark imagination to write cheap, trashy stories for low-end tabloids. She thinks she is winning her independence, but a blunt critique from Professor Barr, a poor, honest German scholar, shatters her illusion. He shows her that by writing garbage for quick cash, she is slowly selling her artistic soul. Jo stops writing, facing a total financial and creative freeze. At the exact same time, Amy is in Europe, backed by the money of her cynical, wealthy Aunt March. Amy is the ultimate pragmatist of the family. She goes to Rome to become a great painter, but the moment she realizes her talent is only good, not genius, she brutally crushes her own artistic vanity. She breaks her brushes. She understands that in a world ruled by men, a second-rate female artist is a failed business model. She decides to treat marriage like a business deal. She resolves to marry for money to save her family from financial ruin, preparing to sign a cold contract with a wealthy, brainless guy. Look at this parallel. Jo is starving her body in New York to protect her mind, while Amy is preparing to freeze her heart in Europe to protect her family's future. They have split the March family strategy into two extreme experiments, both balancing on the edge of a total emotional breakdown. The ultimate reality check arrives not through losing money, but through the hard reality of death. Beth, the emotional anchor of the family, the one who never left home, dies quietly after a long, painful battle with scarlet fever. Her death shatters the sister's childhood. The absolute purity she represented is gone forever. Standing over Beth's empty bed, the remaining sisters are forced to completely restructure their lives. In Europe, Amy looks at the wealthy aristocrat waiting for her answer and suddenly sees the reality of her plan. She realizes that selling her life for status is a form of spiritual suicide. She rejects the millionaire. Instead, she confronts Laurie, who has spent years traveling through Europe as a heartbroken, lazy cynic. Amy snaps him out of his emotional paralysis, telling him bluntly that his lifestyle is a waste of human potential. They form a smart partnership. They combine Amy's sharp ambition with Laurie's massive wealth, turning a failed childhood crush into a strong, practical relationship built on mutual respect. Back in New York, Jo receives the biggest emotional blow. She is alone, broke, and her youth is gone. But in the deep winter of her grief, she stops writing sensational trash and starts writing the truth. She writes the raw, unpolished story of her sisters, their poverty, and their lost Beth. She pours her real soul onto cheap paper, creating a story that the market cannot ignore. When the greedy publisher tries to buy her manuscript for a cheap, flat fee, Jo refuses to sign. She has finally learned how the business world works. She bargains, she keeps her copyrights, and she secures a steady stream of royalties that permanently fixes the March family budget. Faced with a budget that is finally balanced, achieving both emotional and financial independence, these grown little women choose to rewrite the standard script of society. Meg did not ruin her life chasing cheap vanity. She turned her simple kitchen into a home full of love. Amy did not become a slave to money. She used wealth to invest in art and education. And Jo, the main character, neither married for easy money nor ended up lonely and bitter. She inherited a grand property and turned it into a school open to kids who need it, marrying Professor Barr, the one man who truly understood her mind and met her soul as an equal. Ordinary romance novels usually end the moment the characters get married, but Little Women remains a timeless masterpiece because it refuses to give its characters an easy fairy tale rescue. They did not solve their problems by depending on men. They used their intelligence, dignity, and clear thinking to force a tough commercial world to respect their value. The moment Jo watches her book turned into print at the press, she uses a copyright page and a royalty check to prove a permanent truth. When the old systems try to use poverty, vanity, and marriage to lock down a woman's future, the only way to break out is to become smarter than the market itself. You do not need to sell your soul, and you do not need to chase an illusion you cannot afford. Turn your talent into something solid, and make your independence a value that never drops. Beneath the marble floors run by old power and money, on the real, solid ground of reality, you will use your own 2 feet to build a free path that is entirely your own.